So now the purpose of me talking about radiological analysis is most of the time we see direct report or as a conclusion on the MRI, whether there is a arthritis or synovitis or something like that. But if we can try to identify some of the finest point, then we can pinpoint the surgical intervention pertaining to that particular joint. Let us take this example. Clinical example, this patient has deficit in extension of ring and little finger, and now if you carefully see what I am doing, I am passively extending the finger, and what is happening here is extensor digitorum communis is getting subluxated into the ulnar band. So there is a sagittal band subluxation. Okay, now if you see the picture of right hand, right x-ray of, so what we usually analyze on these patients that they do not have arthritis yet, but there is definitely a synovitis and sagittal band subluxation is, that's why the patient has a ulnar drift or dropping of the finger. So usually we know on the x-ray, now this is the pristinely normal joint, but here we see some changes in the marrow edema or some changes in the periarticular region, these changes. So here what sagittal band subluxation, these patients will not have much of the pain, but they will have only deficit of inability to extend the finger. Versus now you see this patient. Okay, if you see there is a gross arthritis and PIP, I mean there is a subluxation or dislocation of metacarpophalangeal joint. So there is the extensor mechanism, extensor apparatus of fingers are absolutely normal, and that's why there is a flexion deformity of MCP joint, and they flex up to neutral and they have full flexion of the joint. So this is the picture of a metacarpophalangeal joint dislocation or a subluxation. Usually no intervention at this stage is going to cause extension of the joint because there is nothing, I mean the capsule is also getting eroded. Now next I would like to explain is, you see a picture where the patient is asked to extend the fingers, and we see index and middle finger is patient is able to extend, but the ring and little finger, I will play the video again, the ring and little finger patient is not able to extend. So that is, if we see this picture, see practically this is the ankylosed wrist. This patient does not have any movement at the wrist joint, so there will be no pain at this joint. But if you see the distal radioulnar joint, that is completely arthritic, and this joint has caused rupture of extensor digitorum communis tendons. I will show how we have managed this case. So whenever you see a finger drop or complete inability to extend the digit, think about rupture of the tendon. And whenever you see a ankylosed wrist, in this case probably wrist fusion is not indicated because they have a ankylosed wrist, there is no pain at all. But we need to treat this patient not only to correct the extension, but if you don't correct the distal radioulnar joint, whatever tendons reconstruction you do, that is going to cause rupture again. So this is another picture that you want to, I mean I would like to highlight here about. This is the very common, usually a very common scenario where what we see is multiple involvement of a complete destruction of the IP joint. Again, these patients, they have visible bad deformity of the hand, but they are able to perform all the function. So such patients usually rheumatologist we should refer, and we should not offer any surgical intervention, because any surgical intervention what we are going to do, the PIP joint which is fused in extension, by surgically by doing arthrodesis I will fuse it in flexion, but probably patient has adjusted with her current deformity so well that we should not disturb the pathology. So message here is, if there are if there is a single joint involved in one digit, you can still offer a surgical intervention. If there are two joint involved, like so here the PIP joint is also arthritic and metacarpophalangeal joint is also arthritic. Here surgical intervention, we are not sure whether it is going to be beneficial to the patient. Okay, so only one single joint arthritis, and if it is painful, yes, then surgical intervention is recommended. Now next case. So here this is like a what we are seeing is intracapsular synovitis that has progressed to arthritis, and if you see classical erosion of radiocarpal joint, mid-carpal joint and CMC, carpometacarpal joint, and they will have some 20 or 30 degree movement at the wrist, and these usually are very painful movements. because arthritis has not led or not progressed to ankylosis. So these patients, they may benefit with fusion, total wrist arthrodesis, and usually these patients are never going to have pronosupination movement, and that's why you should consider either a Sauve-Kapanji procedure and fuse the distal radioulnar joint or excise the distal ulna. That will at least give some supination movement or some pronation movement. So whenever you see some joint line and preserved joint movement with pain, usually we recommend arthritis of the wrist, and these patients, this we have treated with the wrist fusion. So what do we do in the wrist fusion is we remove the proximal carpal row and you put a plate in neutral position. So there are recommendation, either you keep the 20-degree wrist in flexion, because if you fuse in neutral position, the grip strength is not adequate. But if you fuse the wrist in 20-degree extension, the grip strength is very much adequate. And then this patient will definitely have no movement at the wrist joint, but definitely there will be no pain. And now actually this is the follow-up X-ray. If you see I had done a distal ulna excision, but with due course of time, in 6 months, I don't know whether this is a calcification or whether this is a overgrowth of the ulna. Of course, she has no symptom because she has practically no movement at the wrist joint. Now, I would like to show another soft tissue case where X-ray is reasonably normal. Okay, there is no bony involvement. And if you see this bony bump, I mean soft tissue bump, wrist movements are absolutely all right. So such patients, I will show how this is called extensor tenosynovitis. Now, what do we see on X-ray? The MRI. So this is the view where this is the radius, this is ulna, this is the volar surface. These all black dots, what we see, these are the superficial and deep flexor tendons. And what we see here, ideally we should see in line all 6 extensor compartments. But if we don't see that, and this entire white structure is nothing but a tenosynovium. And that image you compare with the sagittal, axial and coronal image, where now this is the distal radius, this is the carpus, this is third metacarpal, volar side and dorsal side. So what we see here is a white structure that is seen here is your tenosynovial tissue. So usually tendons, they are normal, they look black in color on MRI. And anything that is white, there is either an inflammation or a synovial fluid. So this is all a synovial tissue that is seen on the MRI. So again, it is very clearly visible here. So this is the carpus level and these are the flexor tendons. These are extensor digitorum communis, and this is the tenosynovial tissue that is seen on the extensor compartment. So this is very classical example of involvement of single extensor compartment of synovial hypertrophy. Okay. Now I would like to show you how does this synovial hypertrophy look. So this is that is the same case, and this is how, these are the extensor tendon and this is the hypertrophic tenosynovial tissue. So usually the surgery is performed not only as a diagnostic option. Usually these patients are completely diagnosed by rheumatologist, but sometime we need to have, sometime they have no diagnosis, like biopsy is mandatory. We do not recommend only biopsy unless you are suspecting a tumorous pathology. Then we recommend to consider a total tenosynovectomy. That gives functional result, that gives pain relief, that improves movement, and we don't miss a chance whether that part of the portion should have been sent for biopsy or this part. And whenever you send this particular tissue for biopsy, usually we have to have a, so this is after tenosynovectomy, this is how it should look. We should have only extensor tendons, and this is how the removed synovial hypertrophy. So always remember, whenever we are testing any patient for biopsy, we have to have a culture and sensitivity report, especially monoarticular involvement. If there is one joint involved, then we are, because see, all inflammatory and infective markers, they run parallel. CRP is raised, ESR is raised, WBC count, usually they are normal. So tuberculosis has to be ruled out in a single joint involvement of a rheumatoid arthritis patient. One more example that I would like to give, where again this patient had a restricted wrist range of movement. X-ray wise, there is a radioscaphoid joint space narrowing, okay, and inflammatory markers were positive, like anti-CCP of this patient was positive. And when we take a image, now this is distal radius, this is ulna, these are the flexor tendons, and now these are the 6 compartment of extensor tendon. Again, if you see, there is a this is the capitate and this is the lunate. So we see a intracapsular synovitis. Outside, if you see carefully, the flexor, the black portion of the black portion is absolutely intact. So flexor tendons are normal and these are extensor tendon. So there is a pathology into the joint. So this is a intracapsular synovitis. This is how we radiologically analyze that these patients, if we don't treat them, do a synovectomy, total synovectomy, they may probably will land up into erosion of the cartilage. Because as Dr. Akerkar just mentioned, that synovitis will next stage will erode the cartilage. So intracapsular pathologies we have to deal with them and we have to excise that. Another important radiological feature that I would like to mention, this patient had bilateral wrist pain, ESR raised, CRP raised, laborer patient, and there was a discharging sinus on volar aspect of the left wrist, and right wrist there was only reduced grip strength and restricted and painful range of movement. When we did a X-ray, that X-ray suggestive of there was a capitate osteomyelitis. So there was some lesion in the capitate, and another side, opposite side X-ray was absolutely normal. When after that, then we did a MRI. And what we usually see on MRI, how do we read now, is this is the rice granules that is seen in the center on the image that is on the left side. So that is the rice granule image. And here what we see is multiple erosions of the cartilage. Black bones are normal bones. Whatever you see a shredding of the cartilage. So this is all eaten away. This is all eaten away by the disease. And when we explored that, so when we explored that, this was like, this is the one flexor tendon, this was the median nerve, and we did a total this was the median nerve, and this is the hypertrophied flexor tenosynovial tissue. And when we excised that and did a total synovectomy, what we found here, if you see the picture here, this is how the rice granules they usually look. Okay, so that is a classical diagnosis for probably for rheumatoid arthritis. And this patient had an improvement in the grip strength. But the opposite side, that sinus lesion, when we thought it is again a rheumatoid arthritis, but that turned out to be tuberculosis. So I don't know what was the connection, or he definitely had two different pathologies. And then left side, that came out to be a MRSA, and but of course he had a tuberculous infection, and that was completely drained. And this was after a total tenosynovectomy, all the flexor tendons were made free. The moment you do this surgery, their finger flexion tendon excursion is so free that their grip strength improves, their confidence builds up, their movement improves, pain goes away. So consider that synovectomy in, when we have a confirmed diagnosis on MRI and blood parameters. And another radiological feature, the follow-up of the same patient after 6 months, and this is the result. The one who had no wrist, no finger flexion or reduced grip strength, and being laborer, his grip strength improved significantly. Okay, so this was the result after 6 months. The capitate lesion has probably that is seen because I had curated that bone. Okay, so take home message here is, we identify the stage of intracapsular synovitis and arthritis and try to avoid progression by considering a total synovectomy in this patient. Of course, pain is because of the soft tissue involvement and because of early so if there is only pain, consider it's a soft tissue involvement. If there is a pain and restricted movement, these are all signs of arthritis that we always study in our orthopedic scenario. And if there is a restricted movement, it's a joint involvement. So MRI usually gives clear understanding of the location and extension of the disease and how deep the tissue is involved. Do we need to involve, or do we need to explore the entire joint or all range of flexor tendons or extensor tendon? That can be clearly understood, on proper classical MRI. So these are the few salient points that I wanted to discuss.